One of the core ideas behind personal development is that the better you know yourself, the happier you'll be. If you understand why you feel certain things in certain situations, what your emotions are trying to tell you, how to regulate your thoughts, all the things that go into the way you function, then you'll be able to make better choices, you'll have happier relationships because you'll communicate better, you'll be able to empathise with other people, you'll solve problems better at work. All sorts of things happen when we understand ourselves really well. So, I'm going to be talking today about the 4 aspects of the human person. This is something that's always at the back of my head when I'm working with a client. If someone's come to me and they said they're struggling with something just isn't getting better, they keep following up with their partner, they're never getting that promotion at work, whatever it is, at the back of my head I'm thinking, which of the 4 aspects need development here? 4 aspects are mind, emotion, body and spirit. I'm going to be unpacking those today, trying to give you a really clear understanding of how they're different, how you work with each one, how you develop in each of these areas, and kind of what benefits that gives you. So yeah, join me. If you find this one helpful, remember to click like on the video, subscribe to my channel, and leave me a comment. I would love to hear what you think of this. Where do you personally need to develop? Where do you see yourself stronger? Where do you see yourself weaker? Any other thoughts you have about this model? Drop me a comment. Let's go. So when a client comes to see me, part of my job is to apply the right philosophy, approach and technique to whatever they're struggling with, to give them a new perspective, to give them new ideas, to give them new stuff to work with, to give them a new route of personal development. I tend to refer to these as lenses. So we've got a problem, we've got a situation, let's put a different lens over it and just see what we see now. What do we see that's different? So I might be using shadow work with them, I might be using self-parenting, I might be using a pure cognitive analytical approach, whatever it is, whatever technique or approach we're using that day, that gives us different ideas and different information to work with as part of their personal development, and it helps us solve whatever the underlying issue is. So today we're talking about the 4 aspects of the human person. Well, it's actually 5 to be completely honest, but the 5th is so nebulous and philosophical and kind of difficult to use in any practical way that I'll talk about it at the end, but really we're talking about the 4 aspects here. We're talking about mind, emotion, body and spirit. If spirit doesn't mean much to you, if you don't feel you're a very spiritual person, and you're not interested in that bit, that's okay. We'll be coming on to that quite late in the video, and there's still a lot of useful stuff for you. So let's get started. The first aspect we're going to be talking about is the mind. So the mind is big in our culture. We really like the mind, we like to focus on it, we like to use it in a really cognitive and overinflated way. Most of our entertainment is cerebral. We'll sit on our couch watching TV, we'll go to the cinema, whatever it is, it tends to be very intellectual, very ideas based. A lot of our work is becoming increasingly mind-based. So fewer and fewer of us are actually going somewhere and using our bodies to do our work. We just go to a desk and we sit down and we stare at a screen and we click things with a mouse. So our culture really likes the mind, and there's this growing misconception that all we are as a person is our mind. So I want to start by just saying that ain't true. You are not your mind. And I can prove this to you, and you can prove it to yourself, and I'll get onto that in a minute. Just to talk about what the mind is for a second, what do I actually mean when I'm talking about this? So this is cognitive stuff, so this is thinking stuff through, this is solving problems, this is making lists, this is blocking out time and planning for the future, this is remembering the past, this is using your imagination, this is anything where you feel, it tends to feel quite heady. If we use our mind a lot, we tend to either get tension or headaches, or just kind of a fuzzy, kind of buzzing feeling up in our heads. So the mind tends to be associated with the brain and the head. That's not entirely true. The mind is not the brain, but I'm not going to get into philosophy of mind today. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about mind. Mind is imaginative, thought-based, cognitive stuff. There's no practicality to it, and there's no feeling, there's no emotion to it. It's just thinking. So how can I prove, or how can you prove to yourself that you are not your mind? Well, this is one of the core things that is the useful outcome of doing mindfulness on a regular basis. So mindfulness, a form of meditation, is very popular at the moment. A lot of companies are putting on mindfulness courses. You'll be able to find a local mindfulness class. There's also a lot of stuff on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff on, a lot of apps. Any meditation app will have mindfulness stuff in it. One mindfulness teacher I know refers to mindfulness as being Buddhism with the religion stripped out. All it is being present and being conscious of the present moment. So you do techniques like a body scan, and that's a very long, slow travel up through the body and connect with each part of your body as you're ascending. That's a technique that mindfulness uses. There's a range of different things we use in mindfulness, but over time it begins to rewire your brain a little bit. And that's always the bit I'm interested in. I mean, I'll encourage my clients to go and do some mindfulness, and they might get some relaxation and they might feel better in the short term. But the bit that I'm really excited about is the long-term effects of mindfulness training. One of these is you begin to notice that there's this buzzing, chattering, repeating machine somewhere up here that is just constantly talking. It's playing songs, it's repeating things from your past, it's just doing stuff constantly. And that's your mind, and it's this constant buzz and chatter. And once you notice that, in order for there to be a bit of you that is noticing your mind, well, you can't be your mind. This is the fifth thing we're going to come on to at the end. There's a bit of you which notices the mind is doing stuff. If you were your mind, you wouldn't be able to notice that. You begin to feel this sense of kind of separation from your mind, and the more you do this, the less attached you feel to what your mind is doing. It's more like observing a calculator or a computer doing something than thinking this is me. Very, very useful. It can be quite a life-changing thing just to do mindfulness for a while and begin to have this sensation for yourself that you are not your mind. It's amazing. So that's one important thing to know about the mind. The mind, I'm not scathing of the mind. We all have one. It's hugely important. It's prefrontal cortex. It's the thing that separates us from all the other animals, well, most of the other animals. It's the thing that's allowed us to build culture and civilization, and the reason we have so much wealth and security in our lives is because our minds have done this amazing stuff. So it's great, it's useful, but the dangerous thing about the mind is when we begin to think that's all we are, and when that's the only thing that we develop and the only place where we feel strong. Broadly, the useful thing about the 4-aspect model is to look at these 4 aspects, decide where you are strong and where you're weaker, and then focus on strengthening the weaker ones. Because the idea goes that if you are strong in all 4 and you're well developed in all 4 aspects of your identity, then you'll be happier, you'll be more settled, you'll be able to build a more fulfilling life. So each time I talk about one of these aspects, I'm going to try and give you some ideas about how you develop it. Developing the mind is useful. If you can think more clearly, if you're better at making plans and then following them through, if you're better at applying your willpower to those things, if you've got a clearer understanding about where you've come from, where you are right now and where you're going, that's all cognitive stuff, that's all thoughts, that's all imagination, that's all mental processing. So it's really useful stuff. So developing your mind over time, especially once I've talked about these 4 aspects, if you think about yourself and you think, yeah, I could do with some development in my mental aspect, then it's useful. It's good. I'm a big fan of mind, but it's not us, and it's not a place to stop, and it's also not a thing to think that it overly dictates all the aspects of our lives. How do you develop your mind? Well, you do mentally challenging stuff. So you do academic study, or you read challenging books, or you expose yourself to new ideas, or you talk to people who aren't your kinds of people so that they give you a new perspective on life. The idea is to get out your comfort zone. Whatever we're doing here, growth is always found outside your comfort zone. And once you leave it, you start being exposed to new things. It starts feeling uncomfortable and difficult and challenging. And then when you return back to your comfort zone, you've learned something new, you've developed, you've grown as a person. That's the idea behind personal growth. So developing your mind is all about challenging yourself intellectually. Do some complicated maths for a while. Try and learn the lines to a play and try and remember them. Try structuring your day better. Try blocking out time in a calendar and making sure you stick to it. See how that goes after a while. Anything where you are pushing yourself to do more difficult things mentally, that will help you grow. So in summary, the mind's very useful. It's a useful calculator and repeating machine and thinking tool. Just don't stop there. Wow, the tide's really coming in. Hopefully we don't get washed away. Okay, second aspect of the human person, emotions. Emotion is probably the least well understood of the 4 aspects in our culture, and it probably has the biggest effect on your decision making and the shape of your life in general. It certainly affects your relationships a lot. So a lot of clients who come to see me, they're struggling with stuff, and we'll start getting into how well do you understand your feelings? Do you know why you feel like that? Do you know how to work with these feelings? And pretty quickly we'll find out that no, there's learning to do here. There's some missing bits of information. So we end up doing a lot of development in the emotional sphere. So what am I talking about here? So emotions is your feelings. It's things like anger and fear and feeling passionate about something or feeling anxious about something. It might be depression, it might be elation, it might be absolute peak experiences where you think, my God, this is one of the best moments of my life. Anything like that, anything where you're feeling, your heart's beating faster, or you feel it in your gut, in your tummy, those are feelings, and that's what we're talking about with emotions. How do you develop emotionally? Well, how well do you know your feelings? And how well do you understand what your feelings are trying to tell you? Because that's probably the single most important thing to understand about emotions, is that each emotion has a function and it's trying to tell you something. It has a single message it's trying to deliver to you, and that's the reason you're feeling it. And once you've understood that message, and once you've accepted it, and once you've acted on the message, then the feeling goes away. Emotions are not linear in the way that thoughts are. Thoughts, we can arrange things and we do them step by step by step. We can control them quite well. Emotions, not like that. Emotions they flow, they are like water. The idea of a very healthy person who works well with their feelings is that an emotion arrives, it's acknowledged, it's understood, it's acted upon, and then that feeling flows on into this background state of kind of sloshing about feelings that we have. They're also a job lot. You can't pick your feelings. So if you want a life where you only feel happy, I'm afraid you can't do that. The only way that you can shut down feelings is to numb them, which is a huge part of our culture. We numb ourselves. I think I've got another video on this somewhere. We numb ourselves with TV, with sugar, with distracting ourselves with other people, by never being alone, never being in silence. We numb ourselves in all sorts of ways. And the idea there is to shut down a particular feeling. But unfortunately, the way this works is that if you shut down one feeling, you numb them all. You can't pick one or two feelings that you like and then park the rest. We're just not built like that. Our feelings, they're quite primitive in a lot of ways. All they want to do is be felt, give you a message, and then flow on. That's the point of feelings. So if you want any of them, you have to have all of them. And really, that is a fulfilling, passionate, engaged, meaningful life. It is a life where we feel everything, we welcome everything, we accept what is going on around us, and we know that life isn't just going to be good things all the time. We get a lot of our best learning and our best moments in crisis, in moments of passion, in moments of fear, in moments of anger. There are no positive and negative emotions, but the actions they lead to could be called positive and negative. Important to say there, you remain responsible for your actions at all times. Even if you feel enraged, even if someone has wronged you terribly, even if you felt really down that day and so you said something you didn't really mean, you remain responsible for that action. And that's part of your emotional development, is to accept that you remain responsible. These feelings tell you information, they're really important, but you're always in control. You will always have the power and the freedom to choose what you're going to do with the feelings that you have. So we remain, again, in the way that we were an observer of the mind, we remain an observer of the feelings. A feeling comes up, we witness it. This witnessing part, this fifth aspect, witnesses the feeling when it comes up. We acknowledge it, we thank it for its information, we do something about it, and it flows on. Just to give you an example of that, and I'm drawing a lot on the work of Carla McLaren here. Her book, Language of Emotions, is amazing. It's a seminal work in the field, and I would recommend that everybody reads it. It takes you through each feeling, what it's trying to tell you, why it exists, and what to do about it. And it gives you a whole bunch of different exercises to work with. So an example from there would be anger. Why do we get angry at all? The purpose of anger is to establish and maintain your boundaries in your life. If you ever feel angry, it's because something in your life has trespassed on your boundaries, whether you acknowledged it mentally or not, whether you noticed it happening or not. Your emotion, which is much more sensitive and often much wiser than our thinking self is, will pop up and say, something's gone wrong here, pay attention, your boundaries have been crossed. Once you notice it, you find out where that boundary has been crossed, and then you take action to re-establish that boundary, then you've acted on the emotion and anger will go away. If you find yourself as someone who feels angry a lot, that could be really important for you. Maybe working on your boundaries is a core part of your work in your personal development right now. So developing our emotional self is this getting to know each feeling, what is it trying to tell us, and maybe taking some time just to feel our feelings. I've got a video on this somewhere else on just an exercise to feel your feelings. But a lot of us don't take the time to do that. A lot of us just sort of, we're aware some feelings are happening over there, but until they become so massive that they intrude on our lives and they demand our attention, a lot of the time we couldn't tell you what we're feeling. So it starts with that, taking some time to maybe doing a daily emotional journal, maybe taking some time to do some meditation from time to time where you drop down, you ask your emotions what's going on. Just trying throughout your day to check in with your feelings and notice what you're feeling. That's the first part. Beyond that, it's the more sophisticated work of what is each emotion trying to tell us and what do I do about it. So that's the emotional aspect. Huge area of personal development for almost everybody. We are not taught this stuff and it's amazing. Once you understand your emotions well, you can really well understand the emotions of other people around you. You understand what they are going through. You can empathize in a way that most people can't. Quick word on empathy. Empathy remains your feeling. So what I mean by that is if someone around you is displaying an emotion and you feel that emotion yourself, so they're really upset and you find yourself starting to cry or at least getting really upset with them, you're looking after them and you feel like there's this empathetic connection between you. Sure, there is, and developing your skills in empathy is another part of your emotional growing and developing, but it remains your feeling. It's not that you are psychically feeling their emotion. Your emotions are your emotions. This is really important and I'll come on to why in a bit, but when you feel someone else's feeling, if you empathize with someone's anger, their outrage, somebody's upset, somebody's fear, you are feeling that as well. That remains your feeling. You're having an emotional response to their emotion. It tells you a lot about what they're going through, but it remains your feeling. I'll come on to why that's significant in a sec. Third aspect, the body. Again, because we have such a mind-led culture, our body has kind of got a bad rap. There's almost this idea that the only reason the body exists is to be a machine that carries the head and therefore the mind around. And beyond that, all we really need to do is feed it fuel, give it some food, get some nice sensations every now and again, try and do things to stop it getting ill and sickly, and we're done. There you go, body done, ticked off, don't need to worry about that anymore. I don't see it quite that way, and I'd encourage you not to think of it in that way. The body is an amazing source of information. So I think of the best way of thinking of your body as it's like a really good friend who's with you throughout your life. Your body's your friend, it wants you to be well, it wants you to be healthy, it wants to support you as you're going through things, and the two of you are this pair. You look after your body will look after you. If you go through big profound stresses or traumas, your body will do what it can to hold that for you so you don't get slammed with it all at once. So you might find you develop a chronic condition or an ache or a pain a little while after you go through something really hard. That's your body that's holding on to a stress or a trauma for you, and it needs to be released. And the releasing of stress and trauma becomes one of the main things that a relationship with the body is useful for. Once we know how our body processes stress, we get much better at just shedding it, and it doesn't overwhelm us to such a degree. So that's one of the reasons that developing a relationship with your body is useful. The sensations that our body gives us are surely one of the best things about being alive. You know, really great food, tactile sensations with a lover, dancing, having a beautiful night out where you're just allowing your body to express itself, doing sports or doing, I'm really into lifting weights, and I've got a video somewhere else about why I'm so passionate about that. And it comes down to, I love my body and I want a great relationship with this thing. If you have a great relationship with your body, you will also tend to eat better because it actually feels good. I eat a lot of broccoli, and not because I'm making myself do that, but because when I eat it, my whole body thanks me. Developing a connection between yourself, your witnessing self, and your body is, again, a huge and important aspect of personal development. Your body will constantly tell you things. It will give you subtle signs and information. Your gut won't feel good about something. You might get an ache or a pain, and you'll over time learn what that one is trying to tell you. A relationship with your body helps you be healthier. It helps you think clearer, because if you've got an upset tummy, you won't think very clearly. It It does all sorts of amazing things for you, but it requires a bit of time and a bit of focus, a bit of energy. Again, like getting to know your emotions, getting to know your body is just taking the time. So taking some time to do different movements, whether you're into yoga, whether you're into powerlifting, whether you're into dancing, whether you're into just long distance walking or running. While you're doing it, try and feel what your body is feeling. Is it liking this? Like, does this feel like a joyful expression of life? Or does this feel like a thing you're just pounding your body, but you've got to keep going? And what does that say? And do you need to work on that? Do you need to develop that? Is that a thing you need to reconsider? Your body is constantly giving you information, and if you think that there might be things about your body that you could do with learning or changing, there are some great therapies out there. So sometimes it can be worth going and finding a professional. But this one is just about really paying respect to your body, showing it some love, connecting with it, taking some time to just be in your body, feel everything, try and listen to its messages, don't just dismiss them, and develop over time a great relationship with your body. Coming back to the core point of this whole exercise, this is about having strength in all four aspects of your being. And once you've got that, you'll just be more balanced as a person, you'll have more resources, you'll have more information to work with, you'll do better at solving the problems in your life. So your body has a part to play there. Show it the respect, show it the love, get to know it. That's aspect 3. Okay, finally, aspect 4, spirit. Again, if you find this a bit woo-woo and you're not here to grow spiritually, then that's okay, you can skip this bit. But if you are finding that you'd like to develop your spiritual aspect, or even if you're just curious, I do have another series which is about modern spirituality. How do we, as modern, savvy, switched-on people, develop ourselves spiritually? But here I'm just going to quickly cover kind of what I've learned. Now, I'm drawing on my background in philosophy and theology, also mythology, and I've trained with an awful lot of religious people from different backgrounds. I've done some shamanic training. Really, there's a big gap in our understanding here. We just don't know. A huge amount of information has got lost, and also we've chucked out a whole load of information because as culture has moved on, we reject a whole load of the tenets of religions, the core major Abrahamic faiths mostly. We just don't want that stuff anymore. So we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater and we've lost a lot of knowledge about spirit. So what do we do about that? Well, I just want to give you one bit of information now, and then please go and watch my course on modern spirituality, and there's much more information there. But the main thing is that what I kind of worked out over the years is the thing that separates spirit from emotion and mind, because it's very easy to confuse them, is that spirit is about relationship. It's your relationship with the divine. It goes beyond you. So you know when I was saying that emotions, they remain yours, even if you're empathizing with someone else, they're still your feeling? Here, spirit is about connecting with something outside of yourself. It's a connection between our inner spiritual selves and something greater than us. This became important, I think, because spirituality can often become a kind of entertainment, or it can become a mental-led thing, or it can become just what your emotions are telling you. This idea of spiritual bypass. So some people will skip emotional development and just say, no, this is my spirit. There's, you know, don't ask any questions. I don't want to know all the details. I'm just trusting that God is holding me through this. If you haven't done the emotional work, then you can't just skip that and call it a spiritual experience. So first of all, I mean, I don't talk about spirituality with my clients until I've been working with them, usually for at least a year. And during that year, we're getting to know the mind, and we're getting to know the emotions, and sometimes we're getting to know the body. So we know that really well, and we know that it isn't being confused ultimately with what spirit is telling somebody. Once you've done that, once you've got that out of the way, once you're no longer confusing them, spirit is about your relationship with something beyond you, something greater than you. And we're all called to kind of connect with that in different ways. Again, I am in my life seeking a unifying principle here. So people with a religious background will talk about God. People who have more of a new age kind of approach to things might talk about Gaia, they might talk about the universe, they might talk about fate. Those of us who connect with some kind of more ancient religions, pre-Christian religions, might talk about gods, or they might talk about something like that. And people from different parts of the world are bringing totally different understandings, different language to this. Over time, this is about your relationship with the divine, with the greater than human, with the eternal, but it all comes back to a relationship, and really that's the thing that I'd like you to take away from this video. If you're going to start working on your spiritual aspects and you want to work on your personal development in a spiritual way, then try to connect with something beyond yourself. This might be stillness, it might be ritual, it might be time in nature. But whatever it is, you're seeking a connection that takes you transpersonal, takes you out of you and into a larger world. And that's kind of the point of spirituality, and that's how we develop in that way. I do talk about this more in my series on modern spirituality, so maybe go and watch a bit of that. At the end of this video, I just want to talk about the fifth thing I told you I would. Throughout this video, I've been talking about the I, the witnessing part, the part that witnesses that, oh yeah, I'm not my mind, or I'm not my feelings. I'm just noticing and witnessing and learning from my feelings. It is also, I'm not my spirit. So the I, the individual identity, the something that is us, that is watching everything else, that's this fifth aspect. I just call it the I, letter I. Like it's the witnessing identity, the witnessing person, the witnessing something. But there's so little to say about it because it's so unknowable. Beyond it witnessing and being present for every part of your life, there's not much we know about it. I would say it doesn't change. This isn't something that grows over your life. It remains impartially witnessing. I would say that I've certainly come to believe that it does so with compassion and with love. It isn't watching and judging. If there's judgment happening, that's probably your mind and with a little bit of your feelings getting involved. But it's just witnessing, it's just there with you, it's eternal, and actually it can be a real source of strength and reassurance in our lives. If we know that there's something about us that doesn't change, which is okay at all times, no matter how upset or traumatized, or no matter how much life just seems to knock us flat, there's part of us which is okay, and it's witnessing, and it's with you with compassion and with love. It's witnessing your thoughts and your imagination and your planning. It's witnessing your feelings, your anger, your passion, your fear, your doubt, your anxiety. It's there with you. It's witnessing your body and all of the things that it does and all these amazing ways that it can move and the pains that it feels and the injuries that it picks up. It's there with you. And it's there in your spiritual connection. While you are connecting with the transpersonal, with the greater than human, with the spirit, it's there with you. It is you, it is the core essence, stripped right back to simply a witnessing self. There's not a lot you can do with it, but it can be reassuring just to know that it's there. So that's all I've got for you today. That's an overview about the 4 aspects of the human person. I hope it's been useful and interesting. I hope something's clicked. I hope you're going to go away and work out where are you stronger, where are you weaker, how are you going to start developing those weaker aspects of yourself. I talk about more in other places the journey that I've been on and how I've developed my weaker aspects. I got into weight training because I'm a very cerebral person and I just wasn't in my body very often. I didn't notice my body very often. So I started picking up very heavy things and it helped me. I'm going to go now. The tide is about to wash me away. If you found this one helpful, please give it a like, leave me a comment, just let me know what you thought of it, and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you again soon. Take care.